So our most exciting thing that we have to announce is due to our work, we've been, showing up to city council and really pushing for affordable housing solutions because, we both see the need in the community. I was completely solo parent with two small kids for 7 years. Afa kind of came into our life about a year and a half ago, and that's been awesome. It was a very difficult process all on my own before that. So I've seen a lot of situations firsthand, and I've seen a lot of situations with other people, whether you're a single parent or even couples. That's housing has kind of gotten out of control with the pricing, and cost of living in general has been going up. And especially living here, it's not always easy to find a job that pays a wage high enough, and there's a big gap between the affordability of the housing and what the wages pay. So it's a housing crisis, really. And so we started showing up at city council and speaking, and we saw they had a thing on the books to try to pass a tiny house ordinance. So we got really just full behind that with everything we had. And we started hosting potlucks and just showing up to all the meetings and doing our best to rally the people. And we were able to bring together probably like 25 people to show up to city council to speak in favor of the tiny house ordinance a few months back. And then it got passed. So that was really exciting for our town because it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. So our newest announcement is based on all of stuff that AFA is always posting on Facebook. A family in Arizona happened to see our posts on Facebook about what we're doing here in the area and pushing for affordable housing. And as it turns out, this woman, her parents had purchased a property up here back in the 70s in Lake Shasta, and they had planned on retiring up here. Her dad passed away probably 20 some years ago, and then her mom just never did it, because they had planned to do it together. So her mom passed away about a year or two ago, and so she said she and her brother have been sitting on this property. They live in Arizona. They didn't know what to do with it. And so she said she got up early that morning before the sun came up, and she was just praying, and she was praying to her parents and asking for guidance. What should we do? What should we do? And then she said she went on Facebook, and off a smiley little face popped up. And she started listening to what he was saying, and then she got intrigued and she started going through our Facebook page with all the stuff we've been doing, and she just really fell in love with what we were talking about. And so she reached out to us and she said, hey, we have this quarter-acre property in Shasta. We'd like to give it to you so that you can build affordable housing in your community. We want to be a spark. We want to be a seed to help push this forward for you guys, because I know that my parents would really believe in this and they would support this. And she said, we'd like to do this for you. And so, it would be really easy to say, that's too good to be true. That's a scam and just like blocker, but we didn't. We said, but this could be for real. Like, it's a little unusual, but this could be for real. So we had a conversation with her and she was totally genuine. So she said, I've talked to my brother. He's on board. He's fine with us just giving it to you. So they just signed paperwork and we received it about a week ago in the mail. So we now have a deed to a quarter-acre property. It is in Lake Shasta, so it's not Mount Shasta Tiny House Village. It's not qualified for that, but there are other options that we can do out there. We're just really excited to announce that. And then we are still in the beginning stages now. We just received this land. We didn't expect to acquire land that fast. So that's exciting. And now we have the whole next set of hurdles. What do we do next? So last week I did some research and I reached out to a lot of people, thinking about what can we possibly do to secure maybe grant funding to help us develop something, because really our focus is affordable housing and fire resistant housing. Those are our two main priorities. So how can we work within the guidelines? I know there's potential challenges because it's Lake Shastina, they have an HOA. But from what I'm reading, also the state of California has adopted some rules the last few years because statewide and nationwide, I think everyone's seeing that there is a major housing shortage and it's an issue that needs to be addressed. So there are currently some laws on the books in California that are supposed to expedite affordable housing, and also that the state law is supposed to trump whatever the HOA restrictions are. So the HOA can dictate things like aesthetics and that kind of thing. But when it comes to, can we maybe build a house with an ADU and a junior ADU and make it a 3-unit property that we could? It's an accessory dwelling unit. So it's an additional building that's smaller in size than the main house, but it can count as an additional residence. And then a junior ADU is even smaller than that. I think the square footage on the junior is like 500 square feet. So I've been doing a lot of research. I have talked with someone at the planning department in the county and confirmed a few things. The next step is I have to make contact with the HOA and figure out how likely are they to try to give us trouble. But according to the state of California, we technically should be able to build a house and an ADU and then have a junior ADU, which, like I said, could potentially house 3 families, or at least, maybe a single person or a couple in the small one, and then 2 additional families. So I've done some initial, run some numbers. There's a lot of details still to be worked out, but there is a feasible path to build it in a way that would be extremely fire resistant, that would still be affordable construction, and that would still allow it at the end of the process to be rented below what an average market rent rate would be. We got a few more hurdles to clear before we get there, but that's why we had some people here earlier to talk about grants. We would not at this point qualify for federal grants, which was my initial thinking. Maybe we could go like CDBG or federal grants. We can't do CDBG because it's new construction. There's something called CDBG, which is for community development, but that's only for like rehabbing, upgrading something that's already pre-existing to turn it into an affordable rental. That you could potentially use for CDBG grants, but this we could not. But on the flip side, I'm also told in a way it's actually a silver lining maybe that we don't go for federal grants, because when you go federal grants, all of a sudden the cost of everything gets more expensive because there's extra hoops you have to jump through with construction costs and labor. They have certain requirements that, from what I'm told, makes it cost 30 to 50% more. So we actually might be more affordable if we can go for potentially, we're looking for private grants, and we're looking for potentially low interest loans that would help with construction costs, because this is raw land. So some of this we can do. Afa works for a company. He has access maybe to some equipment that we could probably go in and do a lot of the clearing ourselves. But then we're going to have to do hookups for the utilities. I did find the lady at the county directed me to there's already pre-approved county house plans on there. So that itself can save you thousands of dollars, not having to come up with plans. So we're looking into that as an option. So yeah, next steps is just how do we accomplish that next piece, right? Maybe low interest financing, maybe private grants. There may be potential donors that want to help create this, so that our vision is to build something that can offer families an affordable place to live. We both have been single parents. We both, we support 7 children between the 2 of us. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I know people that have like less kids or no kids even that struggle to make ends meet. It's an issue, and I don't believe that we were meant to live in a way where you have to work 3 jobs and exhaust yourself and be stressed out of your mind and then still barely be able to cover expenses. That's not a way to live.
I'm sure you're going to figure this out, but one big variable is that people have got to be able to get from here to wherever their work is and
Yep.
back.
Yep.
And that's going to be a real adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Our goal, our primary focus was to start in Mount Shasta. The tiny house village ordinance and everything. We thought that was going to be our entry point to figuring something out. And this just literally fell in our lap. So we weren't planning Lake Shastina, but lo and behold, okay, well, maybe the first step is we do this property in Lake Shastina, and we can get all these pieces together, and it is a Rubik's cube of things. I mean, it's not an easy issue to sort out, and there's a reason why it's a big issue, and nobody's tackled it yet. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. It's also tricky because not a lot of people step forward to do this, to put this amount of time and effort and spend your money to host dinners and do stuff, and then you go out there and you're trying to do your best, and then you get oddballs online that for some reason don't like the way you look, or they don't like something you said, or they have a million ideas about what you're doing even though they never talked to you, and then we catch a lot of flack sometimes, which is a little unnerving. We're just good people trying to help the community, trying to create a solution, because we've struggled too, and I don't think we're meant to do that. So if we can get all the pieces together, then we could potentially have 3 units on this property. It's a 1/4 acre lot in Lake Shastina. So possibly we could have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath main house. We could have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath ADU, and we could have a studio unit, junior ADU. And if we can get the right financing at the right interest rate, then we could still keep the rents below market rate. That way it gives people an affordable place to live and still have it produce a little bit of profit. That way we could take that and then maybe we could do it again. And if we just keep doing that, then we have a blueprint that we could do, that we could help other people do. I think it's going to take the whole community coming together, and really, because 2 people can't do it all. And that's why we really appreciate everyone that's here tonight, because you just coming and participating and being open and helping us pay for the groceries and the rental space and everything, that it feels good to know that the people that see us, they see our hearts, they see what we're doing, and that trust us, and they want to come and actually take time out of your busy lives and come here and talk about solutions and be a part of moving something forward. Because there's so many people that say they want solutions and then they just don't show up. They don't do things. They don't come to city council. They don't do it because they're too busy. Everyone's too busy. We have kids, we have jobs, we do a lot too. So I understand busy and understand feeling like overwhelmed, but we feel like someone's got to kind of get the boulder moving. So that's our plan. And then Thanks for letting me ramble.
All right. The reason why ADUs is so important, accessory dwelling